Welcome back to Game 5. You did miss Silver Scrapes, you missed the da-da-da, the freestyle, the guitaring, and you would have been able to experience all that if you were here live with a Twitch chat, which often happens every week at around Monday at some time. I'm getting more vague because I'm not committing to that 6 p.m. time anymore. If you are here live, you can get involved with the conversations. Earlier in the day, we had a question that involved, hey Vedius, if you could cook any meal on the planet, what would it be? And hey Vedius, if you could make any kind of milk, what would it be? For more thrilling and enthralling questions, be sure to tune in to the Twitch chat, which again happens every week. Now then, let's jump into the fifth and final game of G2 versus Fnatic, where G2 do successfully come out on top. G2 return to the blue side, and once again we see all of the same bans. As someone in Twitch chat mentioned earlier on in the series, does this suggest G2 and Fnatic's lack of flexibility and creativity? And my answer to that is yes. I mean, not really. I mean, the bans make sense, but nah. In any case, G2 this time shake things up by prioritizing the Akali. Every game so far, they have not been able to get it for themselves, but this time around, they feel confident. So they decide to lock that one in. Of course, it can be flexed between two roles, potentially even three, but we're yet to see Mickey's Akali, so we don't know if it can be played in the support role just yet. Meanwhile, for Fnatic, they go for the Sylas and the Gragas. Gragas has often been a highly prioritized pick on the silent rotation, and Fnatic can't afford to give Sylas away. This does suggest that Sylas will be going into a solo lane, most likely mid lane. Expectations are that Whipper probably doesn't play Sylas top. G2 then lock in Olaf and Thresh. So the Olaf was pretty surprising to me. It obviously guarantees you a very strong early game. Pardon me. And very strong mid jungle 2 versus 2. And the Thresh is just something that G2 decided was very good, and Mickey has figured out, hey, they don't have a good answer for it, and if they want to go Shen again, well, it just gives us a winning 2 versus 2. Fnatic then round things out with a Xayah. Xayah, again, just a very strong, safe AD carry. Kled and Ezreal then get banned away from Fnatic. Expectations are that if Kai'Sa is open, this will be the priority for G2, so they're fine putting that on because it guarantees you a winning 2v2 matchup if they play that. G2 then ban away the Gangplank and the Jax, because Gangplank, I mean, Whipper's Gangplank is apparently very scary, but it's also a very safe blind pick, and the Jax, because apparently they don't like playing against Jax. So Shen gets locked in once again for Fnatic. I am surprised that they did this a second time in a row. To be fair, they did kill Mickey in lane at level 2, so they probably weren't too afraid of Mickey's Thresh, to be fair. And Shen is something that they've had some decent success with throughout the series, and of course it can be flexed between top and support. G2 then do what they do, where they push to the limit and they lock in the Syndra in the bot lane. Perks' Syndra is renowned. He did it against SKT in Game 5. It helped them win a monumental, historical, game-breaking victory. And he's also pretty good at Syndra, funnily enough. You can also flex at mid lane, but then of course they had to lock in the Renekton, which heavily suggested that they weren't going to do that. Fnatic then round their draft out with an Ornn. Now the Ornn makes sense into the likes of a Renekton. It can mitigate a lot of his early game damage, you can trade relatively well, and you offer way more teamfight value than a Renekton does in the top lane. But G2 get a little crafty. They put the Renekton in the mid lane up against the Sylas, and then they put the Akali into the top lane against the Ornn. So G2 get themselves 2 very strong matchups. They also have a winning 2 versus 2 in the bot lane because Syndra, her gank setup is very powerful, and if either hook or stun lands, her target is probably going to die, which means that Olaf has plenty of lanes to play around. It does put a bit of a timer on G2's composition though, because I mean, I think that they do scale okay, but the longer this game goes, the harder it is to play. Like, Ornn, extremely strong team fighter. Gragas is only going to scale and do more damage as the game progresses. The Xayah is also going to scale extremely well. And so, like, Sylas, very versatile in these team fights too. So, I think the Fnatic's comp scales better, very strong in team fights later on into the game, and if G2 don't find early game leads, then things are going to fall apart. Fortunately for them, they have woken up at this point in the series, so perhaps they don't die at level 2. But we'll have to wait and see. You never really know when it comes to Mickey. So let's jump straight into the game. Ooh, sneaky level 1. Where did that early ward come from? We don't actually get to see who placed it. It was just there. Oh, Mickey, wait. Mickey must have placed it, yeah. Mickey placed it based and then swapped for a sweeper. So in terms of early pathing, Broxah looks like that he's going to do a full clear top side, whereas Olaf is going to do a full clear overall and end up bot side. Mid will have push, bot should in theory have push. You can see Renekton already pushing very far up in the lane. Top lane also gets priority, turns out. I think that's because Ornn really can't do anything in this matchup. Akali is so strong in melee matchups. Hello, Ovely. Broxah. Oh, he hasn't gone base yet. He just looks for a gank mid at level 3. Caps chooses not to overextend. Smart by him. You can also see Jankos hanging around the bot side of the map. His blue buff should still be up. Hook into stun, into death. Way! Mickey doesn't run it down at level 2. He's getting better. The download is complete. If you can see how powerful that duo is, if a single target CC lands, then it's... Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I remember this game, so I know what happens, but still. It's really powerful. Like, a single CC lands, like, you can just see how quickly this guy dies. So he's at full health. Hook lands into the stun, into the E. The electrocute comes out from perks as well. Ignite, flay, flash, kill. Through the aftershock and everything. And then they immediately roam around to mid. The wave is barely stacking, but they flash stun into chain CC. Yo, that's pretty crazy. I can't believe they actually make this play work. I mean, they have river control, right? Because Broxah hasn't been able to enter the river, and Jankos was in a position... I mean, Broxah cleared topside first anyway. But notice how, like, Nemesis doesn't get to move. Flash stun, into hook, into kill. Very quick. Very good movement from G2. Nemesis will just TP back in. And meanwhile, top lane, Bwipo literally just dies. I wish there was more I could tell you. There's a level difference. So auto Q, E, auto Q, dead. Level 4 power spike, I guess. So now Olaf. You probably want to look bot lane again. This really confused me in the cast, by the way. I see Hylissang just standing there, and I'm like, what's he doing? And I was like, did he just waste his flash? And I was like, god damn it, it was Hex Flash. I'm so stupid. Another stun lands. Broxah's hanging around bot lane because I think he expects a gank there as well. Because, like, bear in mind, his camps are available topside. But he just paths bot anyway. Suggests that he is either covering or looking for a gank. Because their wave is stacking up. They don't have TPs on their solo laners though. So if they attempt this dive, it will end in disaster. Because that ward is ready to flank. And Akali's ready to hit 6. Here's me saying it's going to end in disaster. And then it ends in disaster. As I said. Not sure what happened to Mickey though. Okay, so he doesn't die at level 2, he dies at level 3. Classic Mickey. I was baiting. What were you baiting? I mean, I know you know that Brox is there because you literally watch him clear a ward. I mean, I assume he's baiting because he knows he has TP advantage and the Renekton's moving in to be able to TP in Fog and he doesn't want it to get interrupted by Nemesis. Jankos just takes his sweet ass time getting bot there. Alright, I'll give you that one, Mickey. I'll give you that one. Fair enough. You didn't think you would die if you hooked the Gragas? Oh, I see. But you didn't even get a chance to hook the Gragas. You just died. And you're right, you didn't have Aftershock. Unlucky. Alright, it still works out. You get 2 kills. That's fine. Then they dive onto Caps. He's like, I'm a crocodile. Oh yeah, and then the play top happens. I like this. I thought it was funny. Anyway, they're looking to set up a dive bot lane, but this is fucking G2. Like, the wave is not in a position to dive. Yankris kills himself. They then can't continue the dive. So they just have to walk away. Oh man, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. It's actually terrible. Alright. Well, Yankos isn't going to be the best player in the world anymore. We wanted to make it fast. It's alright. I understand why they did it, but the execution was appalling. Anyway, so this play from Wonder, what I think is really cool, look, so he applies E, he then has his passive, and he uses ult first. So his plan here is to use E into execute, and it one-shots. But of course, yep. So he dies. What he should have done, though, is he should have not used his ult here. He should have E'd and then cancelled his E with the ult to then get the second proc, and then he could have walked into tower and executed him. He had flash up as well, so. And then we get to watch this glorious high-level League. If the wave was there, this would have been fine. Legit. If the wave was there, this would have been fine. But it wasn't. So it wasn't. So what happens next? Let's think about this. No TP, no TP, no TP, no TP, no TP, no TP, no flash, no flash, no flash. I mean, if I was G2, I'd probably look for a gank bot into Drake. Perks has no mana though. So it's probably just going to be a reset instead. Pretty convenient for Jankos that neither of his solo laners are mana users, so he just gets free blue buffs. Whippo classic, bro him into ult. So notice that Gragas is already on his way mid, and how much fucking damage Caps takes at the beginning of this fight. Execute. Yep, they get outplayed in the 2v2. Let's slow it down. Let's actually watch what happens. So Caps takes a really bad trade here. He doesn't use any of his skills. Not a single one of them. I don't know if they're on cooldown or if he's just holding them, but he doesn't use any of them. So he's down to 25-30% of his health. So he stuns, and he's waiting for Wonder. They're like, let's focus Bwipo. Then of course Bwipo gets out, and then they're like, okay, let's focus Nemesis. And now of course Caps, because he doesn't have any HP, because he lost that trade earlier, Wonder's like, well, I guess I'm 1v3. So Caps is the real troll here. I mean, they shouldn't have gone for it after Caps literally lost all of his HP. He should have just gone out. It wasn't worth it. Good run down from Bwipo though. Closed the kill gaps a little bit. You can see Jankos continuing to play around both sides of the map. I think it's the best thing to play around early levels. You want to make sure that the mage gets through laning phase, and I also just think that playing around a Syndra is really good, because I think she has so much gank setup, and it's really easy as well. Like, Q into E is it's just such an easy thing to use. Pardon me. And then they lose the 2v2. I'm surprised they even tried to all in this. I guess because Perks' E goes down. Yeah. So he flash taunts without ignite. And because Perks doesn't have E, they think that they can win this. But he now has no way out. And Reckless is just kind of like, I can't hit anyone. He actually can't, see? He just stands there. Awkwardly. Ooh. See? He can't hit anyone. So they lose. I mean, I don't think that Zai's... And now they make the dive work. There we go. I think it's smart from Jankos to just keep playing around bot. Good channel. I like this. They did this last game as well. I think it's good. We should get a replay of what happened top lane. I think Wonder just overextends. I mean, the problem with Wonder is he keeps pushing, but he doesn't have jungle support. So Fnatic can very easily just shut him down. Oh, good ult. Pupu was playing into all those minions, but Wonder doesn't have his ulti, and he already used his shroud, so good gank from Gragas, good punish from Fnatic. Fnatic are fine, like, staying in this state for now, though. Like, the gold is relatively even, for the most part. They're not at such a big deficit that the game is over yet. Obviously, there's a big bot lane difference, which is a problem, but they will scale, and Sylas is pretty strong, Gragas is pretty strong. So, it's not do or die yet for Fnatic. They just need more items on the Xayah. Ooh. Of course, Jankos is bot lane again. It's literally 3 versus... Oh, I remember this. Okay, so one thing we can definitely say for sure, like, it's not just this series, but it's just Fnatic in general. When a fight happens bot, everyone TP's bot. They just... I understand why they're doing it, but they shouldn't have done it. They either should have done it earlier, whenever... I don't know, whenever this was happening. Okay, so he immediately gets stunned there. And they're trying to zone the Renekton away, but he dies. Ornn comes in, Sylas comes in. They both get stunned, they both die. Ooh, now that gold gap is getting a little bit big. God damn it, Mickey. See the frustration you caused your coach? Look at how angry he is. Damn it. I thought I had flash. They're gonna kill him. Yep. I'm like, I look at this Gragas and I'm like, you're squishy, bro. You're real squishy. This is where I feel like Fnatic just kind of stops thinking. They're just kind of reacting. And they're not thinking about what could go wrong. Which is the worst thing you can do against this kind of team. You need to take a second and think about all your decisions. And obviously it's hard, right? They're probably tired, exhausted. They're probably stressed. They really want to win. But like, the moment they lost Shen, and Gragas wasn't in position to help. But it's always a numbers advantage. It's always to G2. You can't win this. Like, I appreciate, like, it's difficult in the moment to think, like, what is right and what is wrong. But that's also what separates the good teams from the great ones. Well, that was weird. He literally just runs top. It's one of those situations where Boop was just trying to push out the wave. He's like, oh, there are 2 people top lane, I guess. Fnatic's not in a position to change, convert it into anything. They even lose Prior on mid. What the hell? Well, okay, it's Syndra OP, I guess. So Renekton's going to get top tower. G2 is snowballing this hard. They now have Rift Herald to secure mid. They can just leave the Akali bot and eventually she'll take that tower as well. Oh wait, that top tower is a lot healthier than I thought it was. It's just really small things that keep happening for Fnatic in this game. This is one of those games where I do think Fnatic is mentally broken a little bit. And G2 is just riding off the confidence. So much damage. You're dead. Let's see, Rift Herald into mid. Because like now it's a matter of Fnatic are making a lot of mistakes. They could have just slowed the game down and kept the gold relatively even, but like they took a lot of bad fights. Like the 2v2 bot lane, they tried to flash in, force plays onto perks. The overstays, the TPs. Like sure, G2's playing. It's one of those situations where G2's playing well, but Fnatic is playing poorly in this game. Fnatic G2 is made to look a lot better. Like, because let's not forget that G2 also ran underneath the turret and killed themselves. And also Wonder died 1v1 to Adorn. So it's not like G2 have played flawlessly this game. Why is this? Oh, this is where I was explaining that Fnatic now they really want to slow the game down, but they're afraid of potential Baron rush from G2, so they need to maintain some control over the topside jungle. They have to concede bot. I mean, they'll wave clear it for now, but they don't have any vision control over their bot side jungle. Is what I meant. It's unfortunate for G2 that they got all these Cloud Drakes. But they run real fast, that's for sure. Look at them go. Woo! Fly, fly, fly. Cap's now in the 1v1. Oh, never mind. 1v2. Woo, woo, woo! So again, my argument was going to be, does this fight make sense? Or should Fnatic try to make a cross-map play somewhere? Now, admittedly, they don't have any lanes where they could trade anything. So, yes, this TP does make sense. Fnatic see an opportunity where they can TP in and fight. Perks misses his stun onto Nemesis, which is a pretty big deal. Wonder gets chunked out. And G2 overforced the fight. Let's just slow it down a lot. Really good knock-up. Poor positioning there from Perks. And they get smashed. Deservedly so. Honestly, like, they're just waiting for their opportunity to re-engage. And then, like, a really good knock-up into good... Wait, no, it wasn't a good flash taunt. He misses it, doesn't it? Look at Hillsang. He literally misses. He doesn't even need to flash. He can just press E. He actually... Okay. Nemesis makes up for it though, because Nemesis does a boatload of damage. Does the pillar get blocked by Shroud? No, he can see that pillar. He can definitely see that pillar. He's much further forward than he should be. Like, the thing is, G2 never want to be in this situation anyway. This is like worst case scenario for them. They should have disengaged ages ago. After all these TPs came through, they should have backed off. But instead they overstayed. They shouldn't have ever taken this fight, and Fnatic punished them. It was a really good fight for Fnatic, and then Bwipo wants to base, spend his gold, TP back in, and then be full health when they start the Baron. And then of course he's like, no, you can't base. And then, I don't know why he does this, but Broxah face checks the brush for some reason. I mean, like, he gets a ward down, right? So I understand why he's doing it, but he loses all his health. He now can't help with the Baron. Akali's on his way back. Hylissang misses taunt. The Baron's not a bad play, but the execution here is terrible. And now Nemesis is like, okay, we're disengaging from the Baron because Brox is too low. Another hook lands onto Hylissang, and now Wunder's here. Meanwhile, Nemesis gets killed. Wunder ends up killing Hylissang. Oh, and it's just so devastating for Fnatic. It was such a huge team fight win. That's how they get back into the game. G2 fucked up massively. And now it's G2's Baron. This is what I'm saying, like, this game, Fnatic made a lot of mistakes. Do you know how we often talk about, like, so, like, a lot of times this season I've talked about how G2 made a lot of mistakes and Fnatic punished them. This is one of those games where Fnatic has made a lot of mistakes and G2 has punished them. Just feel bad for Fnatic. Just really silly mistakes. Like, my argument would be, why does he need to ward that? Bwipo can tank everything. You just need to be there for smite. They're turning to try and get these picks that they don't need. Like, what's Caps really going to do? And then he kills Nemesis. And then he kills Broxah as well. Oh, it's so sad to watch. Yeah, this game, it definitely felt like to me that Fnatic lost their... they just made so many mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Like, this game... Do I think that Fnatic's gameplay was, like, stellar, insane? No. But they've been, like, really solid and consistent this series. And, like, really reliable. So, like, the 2v2 bot has, like, consistently won lane. Nemesis doesn't really die. Like, Bwipo, sure, he's a little bit polarizing in terms of his performance, but like, Fnatic has been really consistent. This is the first game where I've really felt like individually Fnatic has played poorly, which is a shame because Fnatic is one of the things where I felt like that they played really solid. Whereas G2, we can find multiple examples of certain supports killing themselves at level 2, and other members also just randomly dying in lane. So they push bot. Zyra is catching mid. And then the Renekton is just pushing top. Then the Zyra makes the rotation up top. So they concede mid tower. Which is already conceded anyway. 3 for 1. And then they try and... So yeah, you're supposed to try and trade here, right? But of course they can't, because wave clear from Nemesis is too strong. So they have to disengage and reset. So... Caps overextends, Fnatic punish. That one ult is at really low cooldown. I played against an Ornn today, me and Ender did. He did in fact scale into late game and he was literally unkillable. But this was the point, I was like, in this game, I was saying that if G2 keep throwing, Fnatic will 100% come back into this game. The biggest difference, though, was how Perks was so strong. He was, like, really giga strong. It's like he was always a backup win condition. So as long as they kill Perks, then Fnatic win team fights. But that's the hard part, killing Perks. So they secure the tower. They need to disengage now. They need to reset. You need to reset, J-Tower. Oh, that lantern. Oh no. Lantern again. Broken champion. Broken. Wait, did Ornn miss the wall? Did he really? Did Ornn miss the wall? Oh, he missed the wall! Whippo, my boy! Look! All he has to do is hit this wall and he dies. Oh. What do you mean don't think he could? He could 100% hit that wall, can he not? The AoE is like this big. If he hits that wall, you get knocked up. 100%. Am I trolling here? I'm convinced. I'm so convinced. If his E goes here, Syndra gets knocked up. Yeah. If he hits that, she gets knocked up. No, 100% not. Actually, yes. Get fucking wrecked, Twitch chat. You messed up. But I love the fact that Perks is like, I love to dance with the death. And he's like, I should definitely die here. And Mickey's like, God, just take the lantern, please. Please just recall safely. Dun, 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 dun. Wait, no, Hex Flash. Oh yeah, that's like, yeah. Yeah, I did that. But I said that earlier this game. I was like, I swear this was a flash. And I was like, oh god, I'm trolling. Listen, there's so much high-level analysis going on in my brain at once that some things just have to be removed. Like, execution is calling. Things like that, I don't have room for that in my brain. It's called efficiency. Is this fight good? I don't think this fight is good. I was correct. This is not a good fight. Jankos now doesn't have ult. Uh-oh. Oh, I remember this. This was insane. What an engage. Whippo the god. That's my analysis. The I mean, Jankos wastes his ult like trying to force this fight, and then they force themselves into a choke point. He throws... It's like Mickey forgets that the direction of this thing can be changed. I think if Mickey can do the flash lantern thing, and he can take him to safety, but... I don't know. I guess he just wasn't expecting that. Shen is dead if we go on him. I mean, you're probably right, but doesn't Perks waste his E? No, he doesn't. Yeah, if Perks does QE there, yeah, he does it too late. He wasn't ready. Yeah, Perks just wasn't ready. Boom! So now G2 is setting up for Baron. Well, that was weird. That's what we call a spectator bug. So G2 gaining prio top side, but they don't have any prio mid. So I'm not really sure what they're doing here. I mean, they're kind of threatening top tower, right? While Kali threatens bot. Oh, I remember this fight as well. This was a bad fight from Fnatic. Like, the idea is pretty good because they get the Drake. But then the TP is bad. Either Reckless should have TP'd in as well, but they're TPing into a fight where they won't have numbers. Gragas doesn't get there in time. They went the wrong direction from the rest of their team. So G2 always have a numbers advantage, so there's only one target they have to focus at any single time. And then Fnatic throw it away again. I mean, I do find it quite funny that the longer the series goes, like, the messier series seems to get. You can really see the pressure and stress gets the players, and they don't always think things through. But I do think Fnatic have really struggled in this game. They've played really poorly. It's unfortunate, because I think that they've played really well the entire series. And then this game, it just felt like they really dropped the ball. Which is a shame. Oh, whoops, sorry. Yeah, because, like, again, see, you can, like, the reason why this comp is so strong in team fights is because obviously they have so much crowd control and they have a very solid front to back for Reckless to play around, but when it's scattered like this, G2 only have to focus one target at a time, which is perfect for a Syndra. And a Kali as well. So now Baron's alive, but there's an exposed inhibitor and a broken one, so it's now really difficult. Ooh, this could have been so close here. This was a really good ult into Perks. His positioning was really poor. He does still have flash though, so I guess it's not the end of the world, but G2 played this pretty well. They take advantage of mid-prio and they force Fnatic to go the long way around. This gives G2 access into the inhib as well, and they know that Bwipo's ultimate is down, so they can rush this. Yep, and then Nemesis dies. Level 16 Syndra with a death cap. And 0 magic resistance on Nemesis. Boom. You should have considered Zhonya's maybe. And they go back to Baron, I guess. Or they go to top lane. It's up to them. And it's smart that Perks stays out the pit because he can just zone. They can't approach as long as Perks is there. And there's the Baron. Yep, and that should be game. Fnatic's options become a little bit more limited. I say a little bit more limited. Their only way to win is to get a miracle team fight. They just get a little bit more gold back in their pockets, but they still get back in time to defend, or at least try to. Ornalt goes wide. And there you go. So I think what this told me was that G2 to me still feels like a tier above, mainly because of how the series played out in its entirety. It felt like that when G2 was playing well, Fnatic didn't really have any answers. And I feel like Fnatic did crumble in Game 5, which is why like their early game fell apart much worse than it did compared to the others. But it feels like that G2 is better at snowballing through the mid game compared to what we saw from this version of Fnatic, which surprises me because last week I felt like Fnatic played much better, but at the same time I also think G2 played much worse last week. I think G2's has high variability in their level of performance. I don't know why, but they definitely get better the longer the series goes, but they had some really bad performances. And they definitely, like in Game 5, they definitely made some bad decisions, but I think that was more to do with like hyphiness, you know, the excitement was getting to them, they were getting loads of kills, and they're just like, we can do whatever we want, and then obviously they realized, no, wait, never mind, no, we can't. But there was legitimately like poor play from G2 in like the first 3 games at least. Whereas Fnatic felt very solid throughout, but my concerns for Fnatic come around the fact that it feels that when Bwipo falls behind, the team really struggles to know what to do. Bwipo needs to be in a position of power and be able to generate threat on a side, because it feels like that Nemesis, even though he got Akali in every single game, like, I don't think he played poorly, but he doesn't do what Akalis do. He wasn't like executing people, he wasn't finding solo kills, he wasn't like finding picks, shutting people down, like assassinating perks. It was never really about Nemesis, and like it hasn't been about Nemesis the last 2 weeks unless he's on something like a Twisted Fate. So I think that's a little concerning coming into Worlds. I think this series showcased that maybe he's not the biggest carry, and I think that he can have more of an impact on slightly different champions. Things like Corki, I think he has more value and more impact on compared to something like an Akali. So it's something I think that Fnatic should think about and look at coming into Worlds. But I think that Fnatic is a very good team. I think they're an early game focused team, and I think that they can play well with a lead. It's just I think that they need specific picks, and I think that there's a certain way in which they need to play the game. Otherwise, they can be taken advantage of. So the biggest way to beat Fnatic is in the draft. And I think similar thing can be said for G2. I think that they have a lot of ideas about how things should go, and then when things don't pan out that way, they end up getting punished. Clearly what we saw from this series was that G2 don't know how to team fight. XD. But on a serious note, I do think that G2 can be exploited in the draft. G2's play can be highly variable. And I think that if G2 do not have a lane that they can play around in the early game, they actually just don't play very well. But yeah, I think it was a really good to see G2 punished. I think Fnatic came in well prepared, and I think like that's the best way to beat G2. Like, have good preparation. If you can come in with like surprise picks and catch them off guard, I think it's a good way to challenge G2. And we saw that if like you can get ahead against G2 in the early game, then you already stand a much better chance of beating them. But you've got to be willing to like maintain that early lead. You can't slow the game down. Too much. Otherwise, they'll fight their way back in. Who do you think would win in a best of 5, Fnatic or SKT? I don't know, because I think it would be close, which is it's pretty exciting. But it depends on what the draft looks like, because in a game versus SKT, Fnatic aren't forced to ban Qiyana and Yasuo. So if they get to open those bans up and they get to be a little bit more diverse, if they get to ban away the Sylas and maybe the Akali, then it opens up the draft more, and like Fnatic can put themselves in a better situation where Akali, Sylas don't have to be prioritized, and I think that they'll find more success when they don't need to play those champs. No, I'm not trying to sit there and say that they're bad on those champs, but like I think that there are better champions for Fnatic to find success on. So I think stylistically G2 is one of the worst matchups for Fnatic, because it does force them onto a very limited pool, whereas I think against other teams they should have a little bit more flexibility, is what I think anyway. But we'll have to wait and see. I definitely think that Jankos was the most consistent of all the players throughout the series. I think that he had a very solid performance overall. I think Wonder was also exceptional. I think Wonder played really, really well. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it. Like, I don't think it was, in terms of quality of league, this series definitely was not the greatest of all time. It was pretty messy at times. I think that in terms of high quality league, Game 2 is probably the closest we got. G2 did some really smart stuff, and they played around pressure exceptionally well in that game. So I would highly recommend you check out Game 2 VOD review if you want to see like high level league. And I think Fnatic. I think Fnatic had. I think Game 1 was by far their best game and cleanest game. But yeah, I'm quite excited for both these teams at Worlds. I'm interested to see what they can do. I think that both teams have weaknesses that can be taken advantage of, and if you prep well, you can definitely beat these teams. But it's about also being good enough to match them individually, and I think that you have like either best or second best players in Europe, respectively, on each of these teams, and so they're just really stacked with talent. So it's one thing to come in prepared, but you also just have to be able to beat them, because the thing is, I think you get to see more of their weaknesses exposed because of the caliber of these two teams, and other teams would not be able to punish, because like again, remember, Fnatic 3-0'd Schalke with ease. They triple flexed that Karma and absolutely dominated with it. And so like that's the important thing to remember. The two teams that are playing are very high level, and when two high level teams play, you expose more weaknesses, which is why like RNG versus FPX is also quite an interesting series, because RNG look really dominant until they go up against FPX, and then you get to see more of their weaknesses exposed. And that's why I think any SKT fans should be very worried, because I think that SKT haven't properly been challenged. They haven't been able to identify some of their big weaknesses. And I think like series like this are a great way to identify like what goes wrong, what goes right, and like things that you can build upon. So I think both G2 and Fnatic will grow and get better from this, especially if they primarily work together in terms of scrims and practice. But SKT, I hope that they also get challenged, and I hope that they get figured out by teams, because throughout playoffs they weren't, and I think that is going to hurt them in terms of their ability to get better and identify what some of their big weaknesses are. But we will have to wait and see. So that's going to do it. Thank you for watching on the YouTubes. You can check out all my other stuff on the YouTube channel, and we'll see you later.